CNN just ruined Donald Trump's Thursday with some shocking news, and Lord help us all, by the end of this report, you will be calling him Donald Duck. It's a lame nickname, I know, but it's also fitting. Stay tuned. Welcome to Occupy Democrats. I'm David Reddish. If you're a frequent viewer of our channel, and subscribe right now if you haven't, you know that Tuesday, a series of special elections across the nation signaled that Democrats are getting their mojo back, and that Donald Trump has become a weight around the neck of the Republican Party. And nobody likes a draggy elephant. In fact, hey, you know what? Cue it up. Give it up. Should we have a little victory lap here? Why not? Here's a victory lap recap.
Overnight, a Democratic sweep in high-profile elections nationwide. In New York City, Democratic socialist Zohran Mamdani capping a stunning political rise, becoming the first Muslim mayor of the nation's largest city.
Together, we will usher in a generation of change.
The 34-year-old state assemblyman running a grassroots campaign, focusing on rising prices, including proposals like free buses and childcare and city-owned grocery stores. Defeating former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who ran as an independent, and said Mamdani would wreck the city's economy, also focusing on his past criticism of Israel and previous calls for defunding the police, which Mamdani says he no longer supports. President Trump threatening to withhold funds from the city if Mamdani won, and endorsing Cuomo late in the race. Last night, Mamdani addressing him directly.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
The president also a central figure in New Jersey, where Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill becomes the state's first Democratic woman governor, beating Trump-backed Jack Ciattarelli. In a race that was not as close as expected, Sherrill, a former Navy pilot and federal prosecutor, drawing parallels between her opponent and Trump throughout the race.
With this vote, you guys just scream from the rooftops.
In Virginia, Democrat and former CIA officer Abigail Spanberger making history as the state's first woman to be elected governor. Spanberger focusing on the economy while promising to stand up to President Trump's moves to slash the federal workforce.
In 2025, Virginia chose pragmatism over partisanship.
President Trump trying to distance himself from the election results. Posting overnight, Trump wasn't on the ballot and shutdown were the 2 reasons that Republicans lost elections tonight, according to pollsters.
It feels good, doesn't it? And stick around because it does get better. I don't know about you, but after 9 months of chaos, tariffs, executive orders, ICE detentions, deportations, exploding boats, bulldozers at the White House, and speeches from RFK Jr.'s dead brainworm, allegedly dead anyway, seeing the nation wake up and push back against the Trump agenda with a resounding ballot box scream it feels so good. And by the way, speaking of ballot boxes, that recap also didn't mention that California voters approved redistricting to fight back against the Trump push to build a defeat-proof Republican majority in Congress. For more on that, see our other videos here on the channel. For now, we turn to CNN's Harry Enten, the network's chief data analyst. Earlier today, Enten drove home some more numbers coming out of Tuesday's election, and he made some striking observations that foretell doom for Donald Trump and the GOP. Take a look.
What did Tuesday's elections tell you about how important Trump will be for down ballot Republicans?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of Republicans who saw those polls that, showed Donald Trump low nationally, and they didn't necessarily believe him. But for Democrats, those polls are real, and they are spectacular. And the reason I say that is because take a look here. Voted for the Democratic nominee among Trump disapprovers. I got 2017, Trump's first term, and 2025 in New Jersey and Virginia. In 2017, among the Trump disapprovers, the Democratic nominees got 82% in New Jersey, 87% in Virginia. Come over to this side of the screen. If there is any idea that Republicans are going to be able to outrun Donald Trump's low approval ratings, this says, nah. They're going to be like impalas getting chased down in the African desert by a big lion. Look at this. 93% of Trump disapprovers voted for the Democratic nominee in New Jersey, and 92% voted for them in the great Commonwealth of Virginia. The bottom line is this. What those results on Tuesday night showed us is that Donald Trump is absolutely a drag on Republican candidates in New Jersey and Virginia, likely nationwide. If you are in a state where Donald Trump is underwater, you are in big, big trouble.
What does this mean nationally, though? Because that is what people are really going to be concentrating on now when we look forward to 2026 in the midterm.
Yeah, okay. So the big question is, what does it mean nationally, as you said, Sarah? Well, I mean, at this particular point, Donald Trump is at term 2 lows nationally in terms of his net approval rating. Look at this. These are polls that are out this week. Look at the CNN. He was 26 points underwater. CBS, 18 points underwater. ABC, 18 points underwater. The NBC Hart Public Opinion Strategies poll, he was 12 points underwater. My goodness gracious, he's down there with the Titanic, and this is what is turning in for the Republican Party. That result on Tuesday night was a Titanic proportion, just absolutely awful result. New Jersey, Virginia, Pennsylvania, in terms of those judgeships, those Supreme Court judgeships, essentially, retaining those judges. All the Democratic line candidates won. Democrats won their first statewide races that weren't federal in Georgia for the first time in a generation. What we are talking about at this particular point is Donald Trump is absolutely a drag. I spoke about it on Monday. That's what we thought was going to happen, and that is exactly what did happen. Donald Trump at this point is an absolute drag on these Republican candidates. We saw it on Tuesday night, and nationally I expect that result to hold because at this point Donald Trump is at his term 2 lows.
You're talking about the Titanic. Democrats, before this, right, were on the Titanic. Their approval ratings lower than Republicans. What does that all mean?
Okay, what does that all mean, right? I think there are a lot of Republicans saying, okay, Donald Trump ain't that popular, but the Democrats aren't popular either. And those Democratic low favorable ratings, those will save us. Well, we had a test of that on Tuesday night. So what do we see here? Okay, vote for the Democratic nominee. View neither party favorably. Here's the margin. Look at this in New Jersey. If you viewed neither party favorably in New Jersey, Mikey Sherrill won that vote by 66 points. How about in Virginia? Abigail Spanberger won that vote by 56 points. It doesn't necessarily matter, it turns out, that the Democrats are viewed that unfavorably, because amongst those who like neither party, the Democrats ran away with it. I started off with a running analogy, talking about the African desert. These folks are like Usain Bolt. Despite the fact that despite the fact that Democrats are viewed unfavorably, Democrats are like Usain Bolt because Donald Trump is like rocket fuel and they're able to run away from the pack. And I think Usain Bolt would leave both of us in the dust.
You are also like rocket fuel, and you can just run on out of here after that good segment. See you, Harry.
See ya.
Well, would you look at that? It turns out Democratic wins were even bigger than it first seemed, and Donald Trump is withering, and fast. I don't just mean the side of his face thanks to mini strokes either. Again, see our other videos for more on that. In fairness, these new numbers still send a warning to Democrats. The party needs to put forward inspiring candidates in every state, at every level, and more importantly, the party needs a message. But the issues are still obvious. Focus on the cost of living. Focus on the cost of healthcare. Focus on the economy, and have a plan to immediately restore functional democracy in this country. Expand the Supreme Court, expand the size of the House of Representatives, encourage ranked choice voting, end the Senate filibuster, and while they're at it, make Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. full-fledged states. This is a golden opportunity for Democrats, and more importantly, it's a signal that Donald Trump has become a lame duck less than 1 year into his term. I told you you'd call him Donald Duck. Now, let's all watch him start quacking. I'm David Reddish.